I'll put you in the cinnamon roll. I'm just kidding. Can y'all tell I'm a little wound up? I think it was the caffeine. All right. Several years ago, and by the way, it went great. I love being a Laufer. I love my family. My dad's probably the most amazing dude on the planet. Honestly, I mean, it literally goes my dad, Rebecca's dad, and then, like down there, it doesn't even matter, okay? My dad's the most awesome man on the planet. Well, we had that talk a few years ago. These guys are going to know what I'm talking about. Back row, guys over here, you know what I'm talking about. I had the talk with my dad, not that talk, because I've been married 20 years. I had the talk. Here's how it goes. Boy, if and when I die, see, he thinks if he dies, because he's Kenneth Almighty. All right. If and when I die, I want to show you where all stuff is. That took about 5 minutes, by the way, there, And so he went around like, Pops, I don't want to talk about this. I call him Pops. It makes him mad. It's so fun. I said, Pops, I don't want to be talking about this. Let's don't talk about this. Oh, boy, got to know. You got to know where the stuff is. Because when I die, it's mostly hidden from Grandma, so you got to know where it is. Okay. We go through all the papers, the security, safety deposit box. Thank you. Safety deposit boxes, all the stuff hidden out in the farm and buried in the backyard, who knows what. And when it was done, I'm like, Dad, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about it. He goes, well, son, you guys understand, I will die someday, and everything that I have is yours. Of course, then he said, ain't much, but it's yours. And the cool thing is, the amazing thing, is as he sat there sharing this with me, it reminded me again that I was a Laufer. By all legal rights, by everything that a court would say, but even beyond that, by a man named Kenneth Laufer looking at me and going, you're my boy. I don't think he's ever called me Kevin in his life. Seriously, it's always, boy. I answer the phone, boy, Dad. Yeah, I know. Okay? You're the only one that calls me boy. But in that moment, it didn't just become the stuff. It was that Dad was saying, you're my boy. I remember about 7 years ago. I'll be sharing this Sunday morning, a little bit of this story. I don't have time to do it tonight. I was in Colorado at a conference, and the guys will probably remember this. They've heard this before. And it was a Wild at Heart conference. Where's Joe? I saw Joe in here somewhere earlier. There you are. Talking about men's ministry. So I actually got to go with 300 guys to John Eldredge leading this conference called Wild at Heart. And it was amazing. And this is the author, by the way. This is like your favorite book, the author calling you saying, hey, I'm going to get a little party together, about 300, you want to come? Again, psst, right? I mean, it was like, whoa. And the guy paid for me to go is like $1 gajillion. I'm not even kidding. It was so much money, and this guy's like, you're going. I'm sending you. Through that, a bunch of things happened in my heart. And I'll talk about Sunday how I came back just different, never the same. And I'll never go back to what I was before. But in that, there was a lot of things about fathers and sons. Now, my dad is an amazing guy. He is. He's not the most emotional man on the planet, but I always knew he loved me. In that, there's a time where they're like, write a letter to your dad. And I thought I'd do one better. I thought, I'm going to call my dad. Now, understand, calling my dad, it just depends on what kind of day it is. Because usually he's like, yeah. Hey, Dad, how you doing? Good. Got to go by. I mean, that's my dad, right? So I called him, and I was kind of hoping he wouldn't answer the phone because this was, kind of some vulnerable stuff here. And he never answers the phone if Mom's home. Phone rings, first thing, yeah? I'm like, oh, crud, I said, Dad. He goes, yeah, what's wrong, boy? I said, Dad, I just want to tell you something. Here's what I said to him. I said, Dad, I know your life didn't go the way you planned it. And it didn't. Guys, and I'll probably talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. Just some problems in our family, not between me and Dad, but for my sister and my dad. Really, really bad stuff. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You've been there with a sibling who's just jacked up, not right in the head. And I said, I know life didn't turn out the way you wanted it. Dead silence. I said, Dad, I want you to know I love you, and I'm proud to be your boy. Of course, I'm crying like a big stinking baby, I'm going, quit crying, you big baby, Dead silence. And then I hear this. No, son, no. And I thought, no, he doesn't love me anymore. He goes, no, listen to me. Son. Then he goes like this. Listen. He goes, Kevin. I'm proud that you're my boy. And I love you. Bye. He did. I'm serious. He did. I'm serious. No, I'm serious. He hung up. Bye. But you know what? That changed me 7 years ago. To know that my dad, Kenneth Laufer, took in this little snotty, diapered thing and made me his kid. I want to read you my life verses. I told you that was my favorite verse, but I have some life verses. I want to read these to you. We're going to talk about 3 things, and then we're done. A life verse is in Romans. It's chapter 8. It's verses, I thought I could read, and I get back under the light. It's Romans chapter 8, verses 15 through 17. Eric, there's a thing of water back there. Would you bring that to me? That's under my chair. It says this, so you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Instead, you received God's Spirit when He adopted you. Now, everybody hear that? All right, let me just say this, and as I take a drink. Let me do my raised in church rant. I grew up in the church. Anytime somebody did read the Bible, you know what I did? Boot. Then they were done. I go, hey, yeah, what do you say? Listen. Okay, for once, listen. So you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Instead, you received God's Spirit when He adopted you as His own children. Now we call Him Abba Father. For the Spirit joins our spirit to affirm that we are God's children. And since we're His children, we are His heirs. In fact, together with Christ, we are heirs of God's glory. But if we share His glory, we must all share His sufferings. Listen to this first part again. You've not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Some translations say cowardly. Instead, you received God's Spirit when He adopted you as His own children. Y'all get why that's my life verse? Duh. If you've been listening, you'd understand. It's my life verse. Talk about 3 things. Number 1. And we're going to rock and roll right now. You ready? Quit being ashamed of who you are. Now, let me make a clarification. Here's where I get in your face. So, you guys love me. I love you. Tomorrow we're going to have fun. Tonight I'm going to be picking on some of y'all unmercifully. Remember, if I don't like you, I don't even talk to you. So if I pick on you, that means I love you, right? Thank you, Rebecca and Eric and Zach. No. I'm talking to people who know Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. I'm talking to those who've been awakened by the gospel, who Jesus has come and He's invaded everything about them. And they have stood up and said, I am a devoted follower of Jesus. Not Baptist, not religiosity, not evangelical. I'm talking about a devoted follower of Jesus. Something inside of you snapped and you stood up and you went, oh, Jesus, save me. I'm talking to you all tonight. Everybody got that? Don't be ashamed of who you belong to. Stop. I was telling Eric this, I think it was Eric the other night when I said, we just need to stop. I don't know if it was you or Zach. Just stop. I've been doing this thing, I figured it up today, 22 years. I'm an idiot. Okay, 22 years. I used to have hair and weighed 130 pounds. Look at me now. It's your fault. And the greatest thing I see in youth groups, might as well just say it. The saddest thing I see in the church today is people not living who they are. They're not living like a child of the King, man. They're not living like they've been adopted. They're living ashamed and fearful. It's easy to pick on you guys. It's easy just for Eric, am I right? It's easy to play the school card. Well, when you go to school and you cave, let me tell you something, we adults cave all the time. I know I work in a church and I still cave. I had this Planet Wisdom. Anybody know what Planet Wisdom is? Everybody heard of that in here? Oh, wow, we have to change that. All right, Planet Wisdom is Mark Matlock. He lives 20 minutes from here or something. He has an organization called Planet Wisdom. I'm wearing this shirt. This is in the airport. By the way, I'll also be very vulnerable with you, and I'll tell you things about myself. So I'm in the airport today, and I got there 2 hours early because this is true. Every time I go to the airport, I get searched. Who wouldn't, right? Joe's back there, understand what I'm saying, represent. The reason why I get searched is one time I went to the airport, and my license was expired. You don't understand this, but they just passed a new law. When your license is expired and you go through an airport, basically you're a terrorist. So they pull you aside in front of God and everybody, and I almost was strip searched because my license was expired. Because of that, I get tagged every time I go to the airport.